Welcome students, in today's IGCSE class we will be learning about ratio and proportion. So I'm going to define ratio. Ratio is the comparison by division of two quantities expressed in the same units. So this is a very important definition to understand the topic. For instance, imagine you have two poles, and these two poles are in the ratio of 2 to 5. Now the understanding here is, if one pole is equal to 2 meters, the second pole will be equal to 5 meters. In other words, the first pole's height is going to be 2 over 5, or 2/5 the height of the second pole. So this is the basic understanding. So having given you this important point, we will have to know how ratios of two numbers are represented. How the ratio of two numbers represented. Now they are represented by, if I were to say A is to B, this is the representation, and the meaning is the ratio of number A to number B. Now this is also equivalent to A divides B. So thus ratio is too often represented as A divided by B. So this is the representation. Okay, so this is the brief theory. Now ratio is unchanged if the value of both the terms are multiplied or divided by the same number. It's a very important note. The ratio remains unchanged if the value of the individual terms are multiplied or divided by the same number. Say for example, you have 12 is to 15. Now 12 is to 15 is also written as 12 over 15. Now if you were to divide this by 3, so 3 divides 12 4 times, 3 divides here by 5 times. So this ratio is reduced to 4 is to 5. Okay, so these two terms, 12 is to 15 and 4 is to 5, are one and the same. So having mentioned that, let me give you this illustration. Can 1 over, or I would say 1 over 2 is to 3 1 over 4. Can I reduce it? Can we reduce it to 6 over 13? Can your answer be yes or no? Tell me. Can I do that? So what I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to demonstrate to you. Now 2 times 1 is 2, and this is 3 over 2 is to 13 over 4. Now this is equivalent to 3 over 2 divided by 13 over 4. This can be rewritten as 3 over 2 multiplied, flip it, 4 over 13 and 2 divides here, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 divided by 13, and in ratio form I can rewrite it as 6 is to 13 is 2 is 2. You can also say it like that. So yes, the answer is yes. So having given you this information, what I wish to do is I will move on to, now let's understand the term proportion. Statement that two ratios are equal is called proportion. For example, 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6 are equal, and they form a proportion which can be represented as 2 is to 3 is equal to 4 is to 6, or you can also represent it like this: 2 is to 3, you can place 4 dots and then 4 is to 6. Now the proportion, say A is to B equal to C is to D, this is read as A is to B as C is to D. This is the way you need to read it. Now the members or elements, you can either call them members or you can call them elements. The members B and C, they are the inside members, right? They are called as the means, and the outside members A and D, they are called as the extremes. These are all some terminologies you will have to know. Extremes. Now the above fraction A is to B equal to C is to D can be rewritten as A over B is equal to C over D. Okay, now we got a question. Determine B if 3 is to 5 is equal to B is to 15. Now solution. Now this can be rewritten as 3 over 5 is equal to B over 15. You cross multiply 5 with B, so you get 5B, 3 with 15, 3 5s are 15, 1, 3 1s are 3 and 45. Bring the 5 down, so B is equal to 45 over 5, 5 divides 45 9 times, so therefore the value of B is equal to 9. Now you can check, you can perform a check. You place 3 over 5 equal to 9 over 15, you cross multiply these two things. Now they should be equal. 3 into 15 is 45, 9 into 5 is 45, so therefore B is equal to 9 is valid. It's a valid quantity that we have got. Now this is just a check. So let's move on to the next question. We got a question. Is 2 is to 13, a double colon, is to 5 is to 33 a valid proportion? That's a question. Now this is the check. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2 over 13 is equal to 5 over 33. You cross multiply, you get 2 times 33 is equal to 13 times 5. This is 66. This is 45. 66 is not equal to 45. This means the given proportion is not valid. Okay, left hand side should be equal to right hand side, but in this case it is not so. This is an important definition. Two quantities are said to be in direct proportion if the ratio of change affecting the first quantity is also affects the second quantity. For example, say the diameter of a circle is doubled. Now this is the change that is affecting this quantity, the first quantity. Now the same change will affect the second quantity. This means the circumference of the circle will also be doubled. So this in turn would mean the diameter and the circumference are in direct proportion to each other, right? So that is the meaning. Now let us do this question. A certain man of height 6 feet casts a shadow of 5 feet, and if there is a building, if a building at the same time is casting a shadow of 225 feet, then find the height of the building. Okay, so there is a direct proportion involved here. Why do I say it's a direct proportion? Because with the height of the object, the height of the shadow increases at a given time. This is important. So we have a 6 feet person and he is casting a shadow of 5 feet, and this is equated to a building. Let me take the height of the building. Height of building, and this is casting a shadow of 225 feet. We expect you to find the height of the building. So I can rewrite this as 6 divided by 5 is equal to, say, height is ht divided by 225. Therefore the height of the building, you cross multiply, is equal to 6 multiplied with 225 divided by 5. 5 divides here 4 times, 22, 5 times 6 into 5, 33, 6 4s are 24, and 3, 270. So the height of the building is 270 feet. Now I have used the concept of direct proportion. Have that in mind. So having given you this, let's move on. This is an interesting question. Given that 36 inches is equal to 91.44 centimeters, then we are asked to find how many centimeter in 12 inches. Okay, now you can actually visualize it like this. 36 inches is actually dropping to 12 inches, right? So we can set up the proportion in this fashion. So from 36 it is dropped to 12, so this is actually connected to 94.4. so if 36 is dropping to 12, by how much will 94.44 cm drop to? Right, we wanted to know this drop. So when we are writing, we have to write it like this: 36 over 12 is equal to 91.44 divided by the required value. So we are looking for this quantity, so I'm just going to take it as some x. So 36 times x divided by 12 is equal to 91.44. so this is going to be 3 times, so therefore 3x is equal to 91.44. x is equal to 91.44 divided by 3. 3 divides here 3 times, 0. So x is equal to 30.28 cm. So that is the answer. Now you have got to know what is inverse proportion. Now let me give you the statement. Two quantities are said to be in inverse proportion if a change in some ratio, I would say if for every, now this symbol means for every, if for every change in some ratio affecting the first quantity will also affect the second quantity, in the inverse ratio. For example, this is the best example. If the speed of a car is doubled, imagine you got a car and the speed is doubled. So what would happen? So this would mean the time required to cover the distance would be, let me write it like this, would be halved. Okay, because when the speed increases 2 times, definitely the time will go by half, go down. Okay, and the speed is increasing by 2 times, the time would go down by half. So you only need half the time that you usually take to cover the distance. So that means speed is inversely, you can either use the term inversely or inverse proportion, is inversely proportional. If you're using proportional, you got to use inversely. If you're using inverse, you can say inverse proportion. I'm using inversely proportional to time. So this is just a concept. So say for example, I can give you an illustration. So let me do that. So this is the definition. I hope you are watching it, of inverse proportion. So let me go and give you the example. Now let me do this question. The rotational speed of two connected pulleys are inversely proportional to their diameters. A pulley with a diameter of 4 inches has a speed of 100 or I should say 1800 rpm. Now this is connected to a pulley of diameter 6 inches. Now find the rotational speed of the second pulley. Okay, so we have a 6-inch pulley, 4-inch pulley. So this is the bigger one and this is a smaller one. Now this has got an RPM of 1800. We are expected to find out the speed. Now the speed and diameter, let me write that down. Speed and diameter are inversely proportional. So that means when diameter increases, the speed will decrease. So 6 and 4 are the diameters. So the speed will become 4:6. Now we are only given the speed. We are expected to get the speed, right? So we have to use this. So this would mean 4:6, which in turn is inversely proportional to the speeds that are given. Okay, 1800, and we are expected to find this. So let me take that as x and the other one is 1800. So we write this as 4 divided by x is equal to x over 1800. We cross multiply. So therefore x is equal to 4 multiplied with 1800 divided by 6. This goes here 300 times. 3 multiplied with 4. So x is equal to 1200. So this is the speed of the 6-inch pulley. A pulley with a diameter of 4 inch has a speed of 1800. So this pulley, 6-inch pulley, has got a speed of 1200 rpm. Right. So the bigger the diameter, the lesser the speed. Okay. So that is a beautiful question, and we move on to the next one. Now we are expected to simplify 3:24. Now what we are going to do is we are going to divide by 3 both the quantities. So this would give us 1:8. So that's the solution. This is the first question. Question number 2, we have to simplify 135:15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 15. So this would give me 15 divides here 9 times, 15 divides here 1 time. So that's the solution. Question number 3, 0.5:2.5. We have to reduce this. So I'm going to divide by 0.5 both sides. So this will give me 1, this will give me 5. So solution is 1:5. Now question number 4, you got 0.42 division sign by 0.12. So the meaning is the same, right? So we can just simply write it as 0.42 divided by 0.12. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 100 both sides. So that would give me 42/12. I can utilize 6. 6 can divide 42 7 times. 6 can divide here 2 times. So 7:2 is the solution. See, question number 5, you have 1/3/4 divided by 5/8. Now this can be rewritten as 4 times 1, 4, 7/4 and 5/8. I can rewrite this as 7 divided by 4 divided by 5/8. which in turn is equal to 7 over 4 multiplied with 8 over 5. 4 divides by 2 times, you have 14 over 5, or 14 is to 5. So that's the answer for this question. So we have done all this. Now let me move on. Okay, in this particular section we are expected to represent the given quantity in the simplest forms, and the expectation is that the representation should be in ratio form. And the first question is 3 nickels to a quarter. Now 1 nickel, if we were to represent 1 nickel is equal to 5 cents, and 1 quarter equals to 25 cents. The cent is the common portion or the common quantity that connects the quarter and the nickel. So if I were to represent 3 nickels, that is going to be 3 multiplied with 5 is equal to 15 cent, and 1 quarter remains as it is. So if I were to rewrite 3 nickels as a ratio to the quarter, then that representation would be in this fashion: 15 cents to 25 cents. 5 divides here 3 times, and 5 divides here 5 times. So therefore the required ratio is 3:5. So this is the final solution for this question. Okay, let me move on. 2 inches. We have to make the representation in ratio form for this quantity: 2 inches to 3 feet. Now inches is the smallest dimension or the smallest measure unit than the feet. So I'm going to rewrite feet in terms of inches. So 1 feet is equal to 12 inches. So therefore 2 inches to 3 feet can be rewritten as 2 is to 3 times 12 is 36. This in turn is rewritten by dividing both terms by 2. 2 divides 2 one time, 2 divides this 18 times. So the solution is going to be 1:18. Now let me go to question number 3. Question number 3 is hours to minutes. Now 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So therefore 2 hours is equal to 120 minutes. So minutes is the common quantity that can be used to represent both the terms. So in place of 2 hours, I'm going to say 120 minutes to 25 minutes. Now is there any common number that can divide 120 and 25? I can utilize 5. I can use 5 to divide both. So 5 divides here, and rewrite this as 5 divides here 2 times and 4 times. 5 divides here 5 times. So this is the representation for hours. 24:5. So having got that, let me go to question number 4. 3/4 pint to 1.5 gallons. Now pint is the lowest measure, but the gallon has to get the representation in form of a pint. Now I know that 1 gallon is equal to 8 pints. Now we have got 1 and 1/2, so that means 2 positive, 1 into 2 is 2, 2 positive 1 is 3, 3/2 gallon. Now 3/2 gallons is equal to 3/2 multiplied with 8. That means 2 divides here 4 times, 4 times 3 is 12. So 3/4 a pint to 12 pints. So this is what we have got. Now to get it in a simplest form, I multiply both sides by 4. So that would give me 4 gets cancelled, 3, 12 times 4 is 48. So this is the answer to the given question. So further you can reduce this by dividing both the elements 3 by 3 and 48 by 3. So that would give us 1 is to, this is 1 and 6 because 3 times 16 is 48. So that would be the final solution. So you got either stop here or stop here. So better you stop here. Okay, so that is the set of questions. Probably I will do one more. Now you have to express 0.130 and 0.325. Both are given to be as say meters. You have to express it in the common, or I would say in the simplest ratio form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by 1000, multiply this by 1000. So this is going to give me 1302325. Now we can choose a number to reduce this. Probably what we can do is I want to know if there is a number. Okay, let's start with 5. 5 times 2 is 10, 30, 26 is there, and 5 6 are 30, and 5 is here, 65 is here. Now is there any other number can we use to reduce this? Okay, 5 2s are 10, 30. Now I can divide both sides by 13. Now 13 times 2 is 26, so this is going to give me 2, and 13 times 5 is 65. So the final answer, solution is 2 is to 5. So this should be the point where you are stopping. So 5 questions I have done. I'm going to do more of these questions so that you will get a better feel of this topic, ratio and proportion. So this is the next section, solve and find the unknown. We are given x is to 5 and then followed by 6 is to 50. We are expected to find the unknown. So in this case we need the value of x. So I can rewrite this as x over 5 equal to 6 over 15. You cross multiply, you get 15 times x is equal to 5 times 6. This is 15x is equal to 5 into 6 is 30. Then x is equal to 30, push this 15 down. 15 divides 30 2 times. So therefore the unknown x is equal to 2. So this is the first question. Moving on to question number 2. Question number 2, 5 over 7 is equal to 2.5 over some b. So you cross multiply and you get 5 times b is equal to 7 multiplied with 2.5. So it's going to be 7 5s are 35, 3, 7 2s are 14, 15, 16, 17. Place the decimal and you got a 5b there. So therefore b is equal to 17.5 divided by 5. 5 divides here 3 times and then a 2 is carried out and you get a 5 there. So therefore the value of b is 3.5. So that's the solution to this question. Now you got question number 3. You have 4 is to 90 is equal to t is to 130. Now you can rewrite this as 4 over 90 is equal to t over 130. You cross multiply, you get 90t is equal to 4 multiplied with 130. So 90t is equal to 4 0s are 0, 4 3s are 12, 1 4 1s are 4, 520. Therefore t is equal to 520 divided by 90. Cancel the zeros. Now I can, what would I do? I have to pick out a quantity which is in a position to divide both the things. Even if I were to take 3 won't divide 52. 3 will divide 9, but 3 will not divide 52. Okay, so the best way to represent this is going to be taking 9 and dividing it using it to divide 52. So 9 5s are 45, so you get a 7 as a remainder. So this quantity T is, you can either use approximately equal to, or you can simply say equal to. Okay, so what is the quotient? The quotient is 5, and what is the remainder? The remainder is 7, and what is the divisor? It's 9. So this is the way you have to write it. Okay, so having given you this, let me go on to do one more question in this pattern. So 5 over P is equal to 1 over 72. You cross multiply, you get 5 times 72 is equal to P times 1. So therefore P is equal to 5 2s are 10, 1, 35, 36, 360. So this is the solution. So this is one of the patterns, and we have exhausted the example questions. And probably what I want to do is I want to give you some additional questions towards the end of this particular lesson. So now we will learn the examples, and towards the end I'm going to give you the what I would say the questions for you all to work it out. We got a nice question. A certain country has a map with the following scale: 1/4 inch is equal to 4 miles. Find what distance is represented by 3 inches. So we need to set up the equation or the ratio in this fashion. So I'm going to start with having 1/4 here. This is the smallest value, and 3 inch there, and that is connected to 1/4 is equal to 4 miles, and we are expected to find the representation for 3 inches. So let me take that as x. So if 1/4 a mile, or I would say if 1/4 a inch is transcending to 4 miles, how many miles will 3 inches transcend to? So this can be rewritten as 1/4 divided by 3 is equal to 4 over x. You cross multiply. If you cross multiply, this can be rewritten as 1/4 times x is equal to 3 4s are 12. You cross multiply again, so x is equal to 12 multiplied with 4, x is equal to 48. So that would mean 3 inches is equivalent to 48 miles. So that is the solution to this question. Now this is the second part of the question. We are expected to find how many inches correspond to 1 mile. So we already know 1/4 of an inch corresponds to 4 miles. Now we are expected to find how many inches will correspond to 1 mile. Let me reiterate one more time. We know that 1/4 of an inch corresponds to 4 miles. So in other words, 4 miles equal to 1/4 of an inch. We are expected to find how many inches corresponds to a mile. So this is the setup. I'm going to rewrite this as 1 over 4 divided by x is equal to 4 over 1. You cross multiply and you get 1 over 4 is equal to 4 times x. You need to find x. So x is equal to, bring this 4 down. So you got 1 over 4 multiplied with 4, which means x is equal to 1 over 16. So that is the solution. So what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is 1 mile corresponds to 1 over 16 inches. So this is the equivalence that we are expected to find. So, and this is the final solution. So this is 1 mile. Okay, so having given you this, let me move on. Okay, we got the next question. A map scale shows 5 centimeter representing 120 kilometers. Find what actual distance is represented by 3.1 centimeter. So you have 5 centimeter and this is representing 120 kilometers. Now we are expected to find the actual distance. The 3.1 centimeter is referring to or representing to. So this is the system we have set up. So this can be rewritten as 5 over 3.1 is equal to 120 over x. So this would mean I got 5 times x is equal to 120 multiplied with 3.1. Now x is equal to 120 divided by 5 and you have a 3.1. Now 5 divides here 2 times and 5 divides here 4 times. So x is equal to 24 times 3.1. Now what you need to do, you need to multiply these two. So I have a 24, I have a 31. So 4, 2, 12, 1, 6, 7, 4, 4, 7. So you got 7, 4, 4. After one digit there is a decimal. So this is 74.4. So what is the meaning of this? This means that 3.1 centimeter represents 74.4 kilometers as the actual distance. In other words, the actual distance of 74.4 is represented by 3.1 centimeters on the map scale. Okay, that is the conclusion. So having mentioned you this, let me move on. Okay, we got an interesting question. 25 feet of a wire, a certain wire, weighs 3 and 3 over 4 pounds. What is the weight of 8 feet 4 inches of this same wire? So the requirement is, we are required to find how much does 8 feet 4 inches weighs. Now this is in feet, this is in inches, so convert it into feet. For that, if you want to convert it into feet, just divide this inches by 12, because 1 feet is equal to 12 inches. So this is going to be equal to 8, 4 divides here 3 times, so 1 over 3 feet. This is the requirement. So we need to know how much is, or what is the weight of 8 and 1 over 3 feet of wire. So having given you this, we will have to set up the system. So what is the system? 25 feet, you put a double colon here, weighs 3 and 3 over 4 pounds. So you can actually convert this as 3 4s are 12, 12 added with 3 is going to give you 15 over 4 pounds. Okay, now you are expected to find this x for 8 and 1 over 3 feet. So this is the system. Now if you were to rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite this as 25 divided by 8 and 1 over 3, and this is equated to 15 over 4 divided by x. Now this can be rewritten as 24 added with 125. So I'm going to rewrite this in this following fashion. So this is the space I'm going to utilize. So this is going to be 25 divided by 24, 125 divided by 3 is equal to 15 over 4. Now if you were to flip this, this is going to become 1 over x, right? So you flip this, 25 gets cancelled, so this is going to be 3 is equal to 15 over 4 times x. Now you cross multiply, so this would give you 4 times x, and you bring this 3 down. So you take this 4x up and you bring the 3 down. So 4x is equal to 15 divided by 3. So 3 divides here 5 times. Now you need to know x. So therefore x is equal to 5 over 4. So if you were to divide 5 by 4, what do you get? You would get a value of 1, right? 4 divides 5 one time. Remainder is 1 and the divisor is 4. And what is this? This is the weight of the wire whose length is 8 and 1 over 3 feet. So this is in pounds. Okay, so that is the end of this particular question. So you can go through this question's answer and try to understand the technique that I have applied here. Now if you don't want this 1 over 4 fraction, just go up here, divide 1 by 4, you get a 0 there, and then you actually add a 0 here, and a point has to be there. So 4 divides 10 2 times, 4 2s are 8, you have remainder 2. Since you had placed a decimal point, you can add a 0 here. So 4 divides 20 5 times, so 0.25. So take the 0.25 and add it to 1. So this is going to be equal to 1.25 pounds. Okay, so that can also be a representation for this question. We got an interesting question. 10 grams of iron, just place 10 there, combines with 4 grams of sulfur. Just place 4 dots there, and it combines with 4 grams of sulfur to form iron sulfide. Now this ratio has to be retained for components, otherwise you wouldn't get iron sulfide. If they have found out that this is the ratio in which two different components or two different compounds are combining to obtain the net outcome, then that ratio has to be preserved. So that is what they call it as the secret formula. So having mentioned that, now they are asking us how much of sulfur will combine. So we need to know this X will combine with 52 grams of iron. So this is the system, or this is the equation that we need to utilize. Now I have represented in ratio form. Now this can be rewritten as 10 divided by 52 is equal to 4 over x. You cross multiply, you get 10 multiplied with x is equal to 52 multiplied with 4. Therefore x is equal to 52 multiplied with 4 divided by 10. Now I can multiply x with 4 with 52. 4 is 8, 5 4s are 20, and you divide by 10, and this is going to give me 20.8. So 10 grams of iron combines with 4 grams of sulfur to get iron sulfide. So therefore 52 grams of iron would require 20.8 grams of sulfur to create iron sulfide, right? So if someone is asking you, get me iron sulfide, you are the chemist and you need to produce iron sulfide, and I am giving you 52 grams of iron. So you need to go and measure exactly 20.8 grams of sulfur, and then you need to combine them. Even if 0.1 gram goes missing, you wouldn't get the outcome as iron sulfide. Okay, we got an interesting question. Analysis of carbon dioxide shows that for every 12 grams of carbon, there are 28 grams of oxygen. Find how many grams of carbon will combine with 200 grams of oxygen to form carbon dioxide. So we need to set up the equation. So what I'm going to do, I am going to place 12 here, and you place 2 colons there. Now this 12 grams is combining with 28 grams. Now we are expected to find how many grams of carbon is required to combine with 200 grams of oxygen. So this is the setup. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as 12 over x is equal to 28 over 200. You cross multiply. This will give you 12 multiplied with 200 is equal to 28 multiplied with x. We need x. So therefore x is rewritten as 12 multiplied with 200 divided by 28. 4 divides here 3 times, 4 divides here 7 times. 3 into 200 will give you 600, and you need to divide by 7. So I'm going to divide 600 by 7. 7 can divide 60. 7 times 8 is 56. You got a 4 there. You bring the 0 down. 7 6 are 42. So 7 5s are 35. You have a 5 there. So therefore x is equal to, the quotient is 85, the remainder is 5, and the divisor is 7. So you need 85 5 over 7 g, that is grams of carbon. I'll just write grams of carbon to combine with 200 grams of oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Okay, so that is the final solution to this beautiful question. We got an interesting question. This is the follow-up question to the previous one. So it's stating as the following: 40 grams of carbon dioxide decomposes to carbon and oxygen. Now find how much of carbon is present in 40 grams of carbon dioxide. Now from the previous question, it is stating that the composition of carbon and oxygen. I'm going to write that, the information from the previous question. From the question number 8, we know that WKT stands for, we know that. What do we know? 12 grams of carbon combines with 28 grams of oxygen to give us a certain quantity of carbon dioxide. Okay, so the ratio has to be preserved. Now coming over here, let me consider, or let me take C to be the amount of carbon required. And this is present in 40 grams. Okay, now if you take away that C from 40 grams, what do you get? You get oxygen. Therefore, amount of oxygen present in 40 gram of carbon dioxide is equal to what? From 40 you take away C, this is the amount of oxygen that is present. Okay, now from the previous question, the data is 12 grams of carbon is combining with 28 grams of oxygen. Now we need to find the amount of carbon that is actually present in 40 grams of carbon dioxide. So as I mentioned to you, from 40 grams I am taking away C, so that will give me the oxygen quantity, right? So this and this, they combine to produce 40 grams. Now this is the system that we have set up. Now we will get the value of C. So I'm going to rewrite this as 12 over C is equal to 28 over 40 negative C. You cross multiply, this will give me 12 times of 40 negative C is equal to 28 times C. 4 2s are 8, 48, 0, negative 12 times C is equal to 28C. Move this to the other side, we get 480 is equal to 28C plus 12C. You add these two things together, 8 added with 2 is 10, carry 1, 2 added with 1 is 3, and 4, 40C is equal to 480. So therefore C is equal to 480 divided by 40, 0, 0 gets cancels, 4 divides here 1 time and 12 times. So therefore C is equal to 12 grams. So what is the meaning of this? This means 12 grams of carbon is present in 40 grams of CO2. So that is a beautiful question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert all the handwritten notes into a PDF and I will make it available as a free download for all our students. We got an interesting question. A pole of 20 feet height, or I would say 20 feet high, casts a shadow of 18 feet long, and at the same time you have a tree casting a shadow of 90 feet. Find the height of the tree. So how are we going to do this question? So you have a pole, you got the pole there and you got the tree there. Okay, both of them are casting a shadow. So the shadow is created here and the shadow is created over here. So we are expected to find the height of the tree. So how are we going to do that? Now let me fix up the system. So I'm going to start with the pole. It's 20 feet in height, right? And it is actually creating a shadow. Now we have got two different components involved. Okay, one is a pole and a connecting shadow, right? And a tree whose height is unknown and a connecting shadow. So you got a pole, a connecting shadow, a tree, a connecting shadow. So we need to connect these two things. So in the previous question, the way in which the questions were posed were different, right? But this question is totally different. So we need to be careful in creating the system. So the technique is, on one side you place in the real heights of the system, and on the other side you place in the height of the shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the x to be as the height of the tree. So let x be equal to height of tree. So this is required. Now 20 is the height of the pole. As I mentioned to you, place the height of the objects on the left and the height of the shadow on the right. So this is going to be 20 to the height required x, and this 20 is causing or creating a shadow of 18 feet, and we need to know how much, or I would say this is already given. X is creating a shadow of 90 feet. So this is the system. Now this can be rewritten as 20 over x is equal to 18 over 90. So I can rewrite this by cross multiply this with this. So 20 into 90 cross multiply this with this is equal to 18 multiplied with x. So if I were to reduce it, 2 divides here 9 times, 2 divides here 10 times, and 9 divides 90 10 times. 10 into 10, 100. So x is equal to 100. So this is the height. 100 feet is the height of the tree. So the tree's height, you can simply state tree's height, conclusion is important, is equal to 100 feet, and you can box the result, right? So diagram, formula, working, final solution with the unit. So that is the end of this particular question. So we got a beautiful question. The ratio of propeller's rotation to that of the engine is 3:5. If the engine is turning at 5000 rpm, what is the propeller rate? Now 3:5. For every 3 turns by the propeller, the engine is turning 5 times. So I'm going to set up the ratio in this fashion: 3:5, and we are expected to get the rpm for the propeller. So that's going to be x is to, we are already given 5000 rpm for the engine. So this is the setup. Now this can be rewritten as 3 over 5 is equal to x over 5000. You cross multiply, you get 3 multiplied with 5000 is equal to 5 multiplied with x. We need x, so it's going to be 3 times 5000 over 5. 5 divides 5000 1000 times. 3 multiplied with 1000, x is going to be 3000 rpm. So this is the rpm of the propeller. So let's move on to the next one. So the next question is as follows: the tax on a property assessed at 40,000 is 2800. So it means if the property is valued at 40,000, the individual has to pay a tax of 2800. Now we are asked to find what is the assessed value of a property if the tax collected happens to be 8400. So I'm going to set up the system in this following fashion. So we got a property 40,000, and we got another property whose value is unknown, and for this 40,000 property, 2800 is the tax, and for this property which is valued at X dollars, 8400 is the tax. So if I were to set up the equation, this is going to be 40,000 divided by X is equal to 2800 divided by 8400. Now clearly I have the zeros cancelled out. Now 28 will divide 84 3 times. 8 3s are 24, 3s are 6, 7, 8, 3 times. So if I were to cross multiply, I would get 40,000 multiplied by 3 is equal to X. Therefore X is equal to 120,000. So this is the value of the property. So this is a beautiful question. I hope you understand the working. Please make sure that you're getting this entire PDF. I have worked all the set of questions and I also converted into PDF, and the link is available in the description. Students, we got the next question. A photographic negative is 3 and 1 over 2 inches by 2 and 1 over 4 inches. If the width is enlarged by 5 and 3 over 4 inches, what should be the length? So this is obviously the length and this will obviously be the width. So I'm going to construct the system like this: 3 and 1 over 2 and 2 and 1 over 4 with the double colons, and we are expected to find the length, and the width is enlarged to 5 and 3 over 4. So the entire representation will have the following equation: 3 and 1 over 2 divided by 2 and 1 over 4 is equal to X over 5 and 3 over 4. This can be rewritten as 3 times 2 is 6, 6 added with 1 is 7 over 2 divided by 4 times 2 is 8, 8 added with 1 is 9 over 4 is equal to X over 4 times 5 is 20, 23 over 4. You flip this, this is going to be 7 over 2 and 4 over 9 is equal to 4 over X, 4 times X, because when you flip it you get 4 times X divided by 23. Now 7 4s are 28 divided by 2 times 9 is 18 is equal to 4 times X divided by 23. Now 4 divides here 7 times, so this means you have X to be equal to 23 into 7, and you have 18 here. So you multiply this 7 times 3 is 21, 2 7 are 14, 15, 16 divided by 18. So you have to divide and find out the length. So let me divide this. Now 9 8s are 72 and a 7, and it's going to be 8, it can't be 9. So 8 8s are 64 and a 6, you carry a 6, 8 1s are 8 and a 14 there, and you carry 1 there, you have a 4 here, so that's going to be 7, you carry out 1, 5 is there, from 5 you take away 4, you get 1, 17. So the length, you can simply write the length. X is what is the representation, but this is actually the length. So the length is equal to, the quotient is 8, the remainder is 17, and the divisor is 18. So this is going to be in inches. Okay, so that is the end of this particular solution. We move on to the next question. We got an interesting question, students. An aeroplane travels 600 miles in 1 hour 30 minutes. At the same speed, what distance would the plane cover in 3 hours 20 minutes? So you got a plane, aeroplane. Let me draw the aeroplane. Now this plane is traveling for the time of 1 hour 30 minutes, and it has covered the first distance 600 miles. So total time traveled 60 plus 30, that is equal to 90 minutes. In 90 minutes it has covered 600 miles. Now the question is, imagine if this is time 1 and time 2. Imagine if the plane is been traveling for 3 hours and 20 minutes. 3 hours means 3 into 60, 180 plus 20. So it's going to be 200 minutes. In 200 minutes, we are asked to find the distance the plane can travel. So that's simple as that. So we got D1 and D2. So D1 is to D2, and D1, the time taken is 90 minutes. Now we are expected to find D2 if the plane has been in air for 200 minutes. So I'm going to set up this equation as follows. Now D1 is given to be as 600. So this is going to be 600 over D2 is equal to 90 over 200. You can cancel the 0. You can rewrite this as, you can cross multiply. So it's going to be 600 into 20 is equal to D2 into 9, right, or 9 times D2. So therefore D2 is equal to 600 into 20 divided by 9. So this would give you 6 into 2, 12. You got 3 zeros there, and you have to divide by 9. So 9 here once, and you have 3, and then bring the 0, 9, 3s are 27, you have a 3, bring the next 0, again 3, 27, you bring the next 0, 3, you have 27, so, and 3. So approximately the distance traveled would be 1333, 3 over 9. Okay, so that is the remainder. We are getting this to be as a remainder, so I'm just placing the remainder there and the divisor here. This would be the approximate distance covered by the plane. So this is what is required. So moving on to the next one. Okay, we got another beautiful question. If 12 men can complete a job in 10 days, how many days will it take for 3 men to complete the same job? So let's build up the system like this. 12 men, and they are able to complete the job in 10 days. Now the question is, if the men are reduced to 3, what will be the number of days required? So in this case, we are going to say X be the number of days required. So I'm going to set up the equation. It's going to be 12 over 3 is equal to 10 over X. You cross multiply. So this is going to give me 12 multiplied with X is equal to 10 into 3. So X is equal to, now it is imperative to understand here, if I were to increase the working men more, then the time taken to complete the job will come down. So there is the inverse proportion in play. So we got to be careful when we are setting up the system. So 12 men are able to complete the job in 10 days. But suddenly what happens is that the men are reduced. So instead of writing the proportion on the other side, we have to write it on this side. So it's actually getting reversed. So if X be the number of days required, okay, so the proportion is going to be X to 10. So because of the fact that it's an inverse proportion, we cannot write X on this side. We got to write X over here. Okay, so the system is going to be 12 over 3 is equal to X over 10. You cross multiply. this will give you 12 times 10 is equal to 3 times x. So therefore x is equal to 120 divided by 3. 3 divides 12 4 times and you got a 0 there. So number of days required is equal to 40. If 3 men were to do the same job that 12 men did and completed in 10 days, then the number of days that the 3 men would take to complete the same job would be 40 days. Can you believe that? So this is a lovely question. We'll move on to the next one. Students, this is an interesting question. A bottling plant has a machine that fills 700 bottles in 20 minutes. How many bottles will it fill in 2 and 1 over 2 hours? Now this is a direct proportion problem, because the more number of time the machine is involved, more number of bottles will be filled. Okay, so I'm going to form the system like this: 700 bottles, and we do not know the other set. In other words, if the machine were to be working for 2 and 1 over 2 hours, we need to find those number of bottles. So this is actually connected to the time that 700 bottles requires is 20 minutes, and that is connected to 2 and 1 over 2. Now 2 hours is equal to 2 times 60, that's 120 minutes, and you already have an half an hour, that's nothing but 30 minutes. So this added with this will give us 150 minutes. So the machine is working for 150 minutes, and we need to find that value of x. So if I were to rewrite this, this is going to be 700 over x is equal to 20 over 150. You cancel the 2, you cancel the 0 and the 0 here. So this can be rewritten as 700 into 15 is equal to 2 times x. Therefore x is required. So 700 multiplied with 15 divided by 2. So 2 divides here 3 times and a 5 times and a 0, and this has to be multiplied with 15. So 35 into 15, 5 is 25, 2, 15, 17, 5 and 3, 5, 12, 1, 5. So x is equal to 525, but that's not yet done. You have a 0 there. I did not take up the 0, I just multiplied 35 with 15, so you need to place a 0. So in 150 minutes the machine fills how many bottles? 5250 bottles. So this is a lovely question, and as I mentioned to you, all of these worked out illustrations I am converting it into PDF, and you can get it freely from the link I've placed in the description. So we'll move on to the next question. Got the next question. A machine publishes 7 books in 10 minutes. How many will it publish in 3 hours? Yes, of course, you might be wondering, can a machine publish books at all? Yes, machines these days can publish books, and this is pertaining to the existing scenario. So 7 books in 10 minutes, that means the greater the time that the machine is working, the greater the number of books. Time is directly, or books published is directly proportional to the time. Increase the time, the greater the number of books published. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a system, a ratio system like this. 7 books and 2 colons requires 10 minutes. So we want to know the number of books that would be published in 3 hours. So I'm going to multiply 3 by 60. That's going to be 180 minutes. So in 180 minutes I want to know the number of books published. So this can be rewritten with an equation. 7 over x is equal to 10 over 180. This can be further rewritten as 7 multiplied with 180 is equal to 10 multiplied with x. We need x. So x is equal to 7 multiplied with 180 divided by 10. 0, 0 gets cancelled. You got 7 into 18. Multiply it. 7 times 8 is 56. You carry 5. 7 ones are 7. Add 5 to it. You get 1, 2, So the x value is 126. So 126 books will be published in 3 hours. Just imagine, in 3 hours you can publish 126 books. Okay, having mentioned that, let me move on. We got another question, students. A farmer plants 25 orange trees in 125 minutes. If he continues to work at this constant rate, how long will it take for him to plant 300 oranges? So let me write the system in this fashion. 25 trees are planted. So this is direct proportion problem. So the greater the time invested, the more number of trees would be subsequently planted. So having mentioned that, 25 trees are taking 125 minutes. Now the question is, how long will it take for him to plant 300 orange trees? So 300, we need to find that x. So let x be the, let me write it like this. Let x be the time required. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite this as an equation form. 25 divided by 300 is equal to 125 divided by x. So cross multiply. So this would mean 25 times x is equal to 300 times 125. Now 25 divides 125 how many times? 3 times. 3 5s are 15, 1. Right? So 25 4s are 25, 2 5 is 10, 11, 12. No, it's 5 times. 25 divides 125 5 times. 5 5s are 25, 2 5 is 11, 12. Okay. So x is now going to be equal to 300 multiplied with 5, which means 5 3s are 15. 0 minutes. So they are given the initial question in minutes. So it's okay that we place minutes here. We don't need to represent it in hours because this is what they have given, 125 minutes. So this is the final answer. So it would take 1500 minutes for the farmer. Maybe probably you can conclude. If you want to conclude, you can state that it would take 1500 minutes to plant 300 orange trees. Thank you. Welcome students, we got this question. A washing machine uses 5 units of electricity in 2 hours. How many units will it use in 9 hours? So the greater the time, and the washing machine would be using great many units. So increase in time, increase in usage of electricity. So there is a direct proportion involved here. Now since it is a direct proportion, I can formulate the corresponding system. So I'm going to place units here, and we are being given that 5 units of electricity is used in 2 hours. Now you can convert this 2 hours into minutes. So that's going to be 2 multiplied with 60. It's 120 minutes. So in 120 minutes, 5 units are used. We are expected to find how many units of electricity the washing machine would have used in 9 hours. So 9 into 60, 9 6 are 54, and you have a 0 there. So this is what is required. Now we expected to find x. So I'm going to state here, let x be the number of units used. So if I were to transfer this, it's going to be 5 over x is equal to 120 over 540. You cancel the zeros and you cross multiply. If you were to cross multiply, you get 5 into 54 is equal to 12 times x. So x is equal to 5 into 54 divided by 12. Now I can use 3 times table. 3 divides here once and 2. 24, 8 3s are 24. 3 divides here 4 times, 2 divides here 2 times, 2 divides here 9 times. So this is going to be 45 over 2, and we have to divide 45 by 2. So this is going to be giving you 2 2s are 4, you have a 5, 2 2s are 4, you have a 1 point and a 0, 2 5s are 10. So x is going to be approximately 22.5, but we cannot give an answer like this. We can outrightly state 22.5 to be as 23 to the nearest unit. Okay, so x is equal to 23 units of usage by the washing machine in 9 hours. So that is the conclusion. So this is the answer, this is the conclusion, this is the original answer. It's converted into the nearest unit. So I hope you got that. Okay, so that's question number 19. We are moving on to question number 20. We got the next question. A mason lays 2500 bricks in an 8-hour day. If she continues to work the same rate, calculate how many bricks she would expect to lay in 5 days. Now 1 day is 8 hours, so 5 days means 5 into 8, it's a 40-hour work. Now this is the direct proportion. Now why do I say it's a direct proportion? Because the more amount of time she spends, the more bricks she is expected or she would expect to lay, because for the fact that it is given that she continues to work the same rate. Now having mentioned that, I'm going to create this system in this fashion. So 2500 bricks are being laid, and this is connected with the proportion that to lay 2000 bricks she is spending 8 hours. Now we are expected to find the number of bricks that she would expect to lay in a 40-hour week. So this is the way in which you have to create the system. So the proportion would be direct. So I can rewrite this as 2500 divided by x is equal to 8 over 40. You cross multiply, and this would give you 2500 multiplied with 40 is equal to 8 into x. So we need x. So 2500 multiplied with 40 divided by 8. 8 divides 40 5 times. Multiply 5 with 25. 5 is 25. 2, 5 is 10, 11, 12, and you have 2 zeros. So x is equal to 1200. I should say 125,000 bricks she expects to lay in a 5-day week, working at constant rate. So that is the solution for this particular question. We'll move on to the next one. Now this is the second part. How long to the nearest hour it would take her to lay 20,000 bricks? Now this is also a direct proportion problem. She has to spend more time, and the greater the time, the greater the number of bricks laid. So initially this is the data that is being given. 2500 bricks are being laid in an 8-hour period. Now we are expected to find the time taken to lay 20,000 bricks. So this is required. So I'm going to state here, let x be the time required. So if x is the time required, I can rewrite this as 2500 divided by 20,000 is equal to 8 over x. So we need to get x. Cancel these zeros and rewrite this by cross multiplying. So this would give you 25 into x is equal to 8 into 200. So x is equal to 8 into 200 divided by 25. 5 divides here 5 times, 5 divides here 4 and a 0, 5 divides here 8 times. So 8 into 8, 64. So x is equal to 64 hours are required, because this time is in hours. So 64 hours. So you can write the conclusion. It would take 64 hours to lay 20,000 bricks. That's the final answer. So let's move on to the next question. So this question has got two parts. This is part A and the part B. This is the next question. A robot machine takes in 300 liters of white paint to paint the median lines, 20 kilometers of median line. Now if you were to be on a highway, you will see that median line running. Right now this is actually a partition, so that the traffic which is ongoing and incoming are clearly separated, so nobody is overlapping onto nobody's lane. So this is actually a lane division. So there is a robot machine, okay, that has the ability to draw this line. Now apparently it needs 300 liters of white paint to paint 20 kilometers. So again it's a direct proportion. So greater the number of liters of paint, the greater the lines would be marked on the road. So I'm going to create a system. Now we are required to find two things. How many liters of paint would be needed for 300 kilometers? So I'm going to use the following system. It is given that 300 liters can draw the median for 20 kilometers. Now the question is, how many liters would be needed to paint or to draw the median for 300 kilometers? So we are expected to calculate the number of liters over here. So I'm going to state here, let x be the required number of liters. So that would mean it's a direct proportion. So I'm going to rewrite this as 300 over x is equal to 20 over 300. So you cancel the zeros and then you cross multiply. This is going to be 300 into 30 is equal to 2 times x. Now 2 divides here 15 times. 3 into 15 is 45, and you have a 0, a 0, a 0. So 0, 0, 0. So this is equal to x. So we need 45,000 liters of paint is required to draw the median line for 300 kilometers of road length. So that is the conclusion for this particular question. Now next is, what length of road could be marked with 5,000 liters of paint? Right, with 300 liters you can mark 20 kilometers. They are asking for 5,000 liters. So I know this system. So let me write this system. With 300 liters I can mark 20 kilometers. Now they are asking how many kilometers can 5,000 liters of paint stretch or can be used to mark. So this is what is required. So I have created the system. I'm going to state here, let x be the number of kilometers that 5,000 liters of paint can draw the median line. So having given this information, let me formulate the equation. So it's going to be 300 over 5,000. is equal to 20 over x. So you cross multiply, you get 300 multiplied with x is equal to 20 multiplied with 5000. We cancel two zeros, so x is equal to 20 multiplied with 50, and this is going to be 10 0 0 divided by 3. So you have to divide this. It's actually 1000. So 1000 you divide by 3. 3 3s are 9, you have a 1. 3 3s are 9, you got a 1. And 3 3s are 9, you have a 1. And approximately, see, this is going to go on. Every time you get a 1 and you add a 0, this will be stretching. So x, you can only use this approximation symbol. X is approximately 333.33. So that's fine. So what is the conclusion? With 5000 liters of paint, the machine can draw the median for 333.33 kilometers. So this is just an approximate value because of the fact that we have got values like that. So that is the end of this question. We move on. So 2 divides 15 times 3 into 15 would give us 4500. There are 2 zeros, so just place 2 zeros. So x is equal to 4500 liters of paint would be required to draw the median line for 300 kilometers of road length. So that's the solution for this question. Let's do this question. A car travels at 60 kilometers per hour and covers a distance of 180 kilometers. How far will it travel in the same period of time if its speed increases to 80 km per hour? So this is a sign of direct proportion. The more the speed, the greater the distance traveled. So if you were to have a speed, you increase the speed, you can cover greater space. So that's a direct proportion problem. Now the time period is also same. So there isn't any change. So we are expected to find the number of kilometers traveled. So I'm going to set up this system for 60 kilometers of speed, that is 60 km per hour. The car is able to cover 180 kilometers. Now the question is, the speed is increased to 80 km. We are expected to find the distance x. So let x be the, I'm going to write it like this, be the distance covered. So this can be rewritten as 60 over 80 is equal to 180 divided by x. So you cross multiply, therefore you get 60 into x is equal to 80 into 180. So x is equal to 80 into 180 divided by 60. Cancel the zeros here. 6 divides here 3 times, and 80 into 3 is 240. So x is equal to 240. So the distance traveled by the car, therefore distance traveled by the car at 80 km per hour is equal to 240 kilometers. So that is the solution. So we move on to question number 23. Students, we got an interesting question. A conveyor belt in a factory moves at a speed of 3 meters per second and packages 200 boxes. In the same period of time, how many boxes will it package at speeds of 9 meters per second, 1.5 meters per second and 4.5 meters per second? So if the speed changes, or if the speed increases, the more amount of boxes will be packaged, and if the speed decreases, lesser amount of boxes will be packaged. So this is a direct proportion problem, and I'm going to set up the system like that. If the conveyor belt moves at 3 meters per second, I can have 200 boxes packed or packaged. Now the speed is actually increasing to 9. We are asked to find the number of boxes that can be packed or packaged by the conveyor belt. So this is a system. Now I'm going to state here, let x be the number of boxes packaged. So I'm going to formulate the equation. 3 over 9 is equal to 200 over x. Now 3 divides here 3 times, so you have 1 over 3 is equal to 200 over x. You cross multiply. This is going to give me x is equal to 200 multiplied with 3, so x is equal to 600 boxes can be packaged. So that's a conclusion here. When the speed increases to 9 meters, when the speed is increasing to 9 meters per second, the boxes that could be packed or packaged also increases. Now the second part is 1.5 meters. So you place the system 1, 1.5 and 200 versus x. So it's going to be 3 over 1.5 is equal to 200 over x. You cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you get 3 times x is equal to 1.5 into 200. So x is equal to 1.5 multiplied with 200 divided by 3. Now 3 divides here 0.5 times. So you multiply by 2. 2 5s are 10 and you have 2 zeros. Now after a decimal you have 1 digit. So x is equal to 100 boxes. So that's the second solution for this question if the conveyor belt is moving at 1.5. So let me go to the next one, 4.5. So we formulate the system like this: 3 is to 4.5, 200 is to x. So I'm going to rewrite the system as 3 over 4.5 is equal to 200 over x. You cross multiply, you get 3 times x is equal to 200 multiplied with 4.5. So x is equal to 200 times 4.5 divided by 3. 3 divides here 1.5. So you multiply by 200, you get 30 and 2 zeros. After decimal you have a digit, so you move that x off, 0 off. So x is equal to 300 boxes packaged in odd in 4.5 meters per second. That's a solution. Students, we got a ratio being given and the problem reads as follows: iron and zinc are mixed in the ratio of 8:5. How much of iron is needed to mix with 45 grams of zinc? So I'm going to formulate the system as follows: ratio of iron to zinc versus the requirement of iron to be mixed with the quantity of zinc. So this is how we need to formulate whenever we are given the ratio of two components. Now I'm going to rewrite this as 8 over 5 is equal to x over 45. You cross multiply. This can be rewritten as 8 times 45 is equal to 5 times x. So x is equal to 8 into 45 divided by 5. 5 divides here 9 times. 8 into 9 is 72. So x is equal to 72. Now what is the meaning of this? This means 72 grams of iron is required to be mixed with 45 grams of zinc. Okay, so that is the conclusion for this particular question. We move on to the next one. Students, we got an interesting question. Sand and gravel are mixed in the ratio of 7:3 to form a concrete. Find how much sand is mixed with 840 kg of gravel. So the ratio is given, so I'm going to start by writing the ratios as given. So this ratio indicates the ratio for sand. 7 parts of sand is being mixed with 3 parts of gravel to form 840 kg of gravel. So we need that other part for sand, and let me mention it as x and 840 goes over here. So now the condition comes, or the question comes, with this ratio, how much of sand have to be poured into 840 kgs of gravel? So that's the requirement, right? So let me state here, let X be equal to the amount of sand that goes into the mix. So this can be rewritten as 7 over 3 is equal to X over 840. You cross multiply, you get 7 multiplied with 840 is equal to 3 multiplied with X. We need to get X. So X is equal to 7 into 840 divided by 3. So 3 divides here 2 times. You carry 2, 8 3s are 24 and you get a 0 there. So 7 times 280. 7 8s are 56, 5, 7 2s are 14, 5 that's going to be 19, and you have a 0. So X is equal to 1960 kgs of sand is required to be mixed with 840 kgs of gravel. Okay, this is the first part. Now the second part is they are giving us the same composition. Now they are asking us, if I were to give you 840 kilograms of sand, then how much of gravel do you need to form that concrete? That's a requirement, right? So let X be the amount of gravel required. So we need to get that X. So this can be rewritten as 7 over 3 is equal to 840 divided by X. So this would mean 7 times X is equal to 840 times 3. So X is equal to 840 times 3 divided by 7. 7 divides here 1. We carry 1. 7 2s are 14 and 0. So you get 120 multiplied by 3. So you multiply that. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 1s are 3 and 0. So if you have 840 kg of sand, then you would need 360 kg of gravel to form an effective concrete. Okay, so that is the conclusion. Of course, once you give this solution, you are fine, but I am placing in the conclusion for better understanding. Okay, so this is a lovely question. Let me move on.